I'm Nick Ravellis. Welcome back to the San Diego Opera Podcast. My guest today is Falstaff, Roberto de Candia.
Hi.
Roberto,
Hi.
welcome to San Diego.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
You've never been here before.
No. It's my debut on the West Coast, actually. Yeah,
Oh,
I've
wonderful.
never been on this side.
So we got you before San Francisco,
Absolutely.
before LA. Perfetto.
Yeah.
That's great. Tell me a little bit about your career. You started,
I
obviously
started
you're Italian.
Yeah. I started in 1990, and before that, I had been studying a little bit, but mostly, I just was starting to get into the business as a chorus member.
Oh.
I worked in a couple of theaters, Rome Opera House and Teatro Petruzzelli in the south of Italy, near Bari, where is my birthplace. And after that, I started making a couple of competitions. I won an international competition in Spoleto. And then after that, small gigs and contracts were coming up, but I thought I just needed a little bit of more time. So I was taking a couple of things here and there, but then I started studying with a famous baritone called Sesto Bruscantini, and I've been studying with him for at least 10 years.
Is he based in Rome?
No, he was at that time based in Civitanova Marche, on the other side of Italy, near not far from Pesaro and Ancona, those places. And then until he just left us after a long illness, I've had the opportunity to live in his place for a long time and study with him for at least 10 years. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
It's been great.
From Bruscantini, that's
exactly, and
legacy. That's wonderful.
I mean, it's a great gift, and
Yeah.
also the story that is linked actually to this Falstaff, to me learning the Falstaff is a little bit touchy. I don't know, maybe it's me, I'm just emotional or things, because Bruscantini at a certain point when I met him, he had already been diagnosed with Parkinson. And at a certain point he tells me something like, listen, you know what, I don't think I will be able to talk and speak for long now, because the illness was just taking beats of him away. And then he told me, would you be available to just cancel one of your contracts and stay here for a couple of months, and then I need to tell what I think about Falstaff and the role and this music to someone before I cannot do it anymore. And then I decided to it is quite impossible to describe the emotion and the feeling that you as a young guy can feel when someone so big, so intense can, he wants that someone like him wants to give you such a gift. It's difficult,
It's
difficult for me even to speak, as you see.
No, but what a gift. And I wonder who would he have studied Falstaff with?
I don't know.
I
He
wonder.
had been singing Ford with lots of conductors like Mario
Which is
Rossi.
the other
Yeah,
baritone role,
the other baritone role, yeah.
Mr. Ford.
Exactly. But he always had been willing to sing Falstaff. So while he was singing the other role with the conductors like Mario Rossi and Vittorio Gui, those times were some of the most famous, and they were making long collaboration with between themselves in places like Glyndebourne or festivals, Salzburg and places like this. And then he was always trying to ask them things about Falstaff, and and that's how he built the role. I have another, he also made me, when I made the debut, because at that time when he asked me to learn the role, I didn't have plans to do it, because I was around my 30, so sometimes
that's young for Falstaff.
they don't think they don't think to you, they don't think at you as a Falstaff. But then he was always saying, you know what, they ask you to sing Falstaff when you are aged, and then sometimes you are not so able anymore to deliver all vocally and physically all the colors that the score requires you.
I would say especially physically, because you have to move.
Yeah.
Even though you've got this...
It's one of the most energetic roles
yeah,
I do.
I would think so.
I have been singing roles like Figaro in the Barbarossa Seville, all those, guys that go here and there. But I mean, physically, Falstaff is really one of the most tiring roles that I do.
I have to ask you, and forgive my ignorance to the audience. Are you a bass baritone or a baritone?
No, I'm a baritone.
You're a baritone.
Yeah.
Because bass baritones do sing this role.
Absolutely,
also.
absolutely.
But,
Yes.
and when you speak, your speaking voice almost sounds like
a tenor. Yeah, I know. I get that a lot. But the thing is that, the technique that he taught me is based on keeping the voice very high in order to develop the harmonics that are the vibration of the voice, the vibrations of the voice that can just go through the wall of the orchestra.
Cut through the orchestra. Because the orchestra of Falstaff is big and bright.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very bright tinto.
It's
Verdi used
it
to...
is Verdi, and it is the last Verdi. Yeah. He knew very well how to compose during his whole career, but mostly in this last opera, he shows a huge pattern of colors and quality of composing. But he is using the whole orchestra. So you have to cut through the orchestra, and not in a pushy way, not in a physical way, but just with a technique that allows you to deliver your voice or to make heard, to make the words be heard. Because let's not forget, this is an opera where the words are as much as important as the music.
I think as important, yes, absolutely. Boito was brilliant.
An incredible
and in fact,
job.
I have Shakespeare scholars who tell me that this opera is better than The Merry Wives of Windsor. And it really is. It's a brilliantly written libretto, albeit in Italian, but evidently Boito really gets the flavor of Shakespeare.
Absolutely. And also, for example, what I discovered, I had no idea. I had already sang the role, but just for casually, I found in a store in Turin, in Italy, the original libretto of the opening night at La Scala, and you can see that it is written in rhymes. But when you speak through it, it doesn't sound like a poetry. It just sounds like a dialogue, a conversation. It's amazing. It's a great work. So that shows that not only the music of Verdi has its own important quality and rhythm, but also the libretto has its own rhythm inside. The combination of the two makes this opera a real masterpiece.
I was speaking with Olivier Tambosi, our stage director, last week, about this connection between the music of Falstaff and the words. And something that we shared, my frustration when I was younger, trying to get this opera, trying to understand it, because it doesn't have those big blooming melodies that Traviata has or Trovatore. And what was frustrating was Verdi would begin a melody, but then because the text changed, the music changes. So it's constantly...
And all the melodies are so beautiful.
Oh, they're wonderful.
But also, you just wish they could develop a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead, he is just putting another one, and you say, oh, see, oh, this is good too. And then another one. Oh, wow. It gets going on all the time.
But what that does, I think, for an audience, which I think is really, really important, it pulls the audience forward.
Oh, absolutely.
Through
and also
the
it's
drama.
our job and our duty to keep the audience linked to us. I mean, I'm not new in singing in the United States, but the thing is that sometimes, and it's obvious, people have to read the subtitles, but then if we succeed in keeping the eyes and the ears towards us, then it's done. I think this is our best and biggest challenge, and I think we will do it. We will succeed it.
I was going to ask you, you've been rehearsing now for a week.
Yeah.
How's it going? It sounds to me that the cast is
It's going very
wonderful.
well. What is
Everybody gets along.
yeah, the thing,
Very
that's the
friendly
thing.
group.
I was just saying, sometimes casting is not only a question of who is right for this role. Sometimes casting, and it is a really difficult job. I mean, I couldn't do it, but and I wouldn't do it because it's such a responsibility towards the audience, towards the score, towards everybody.
Yeah.
And it's also part of the casting is to understand if a group of people that probably for 90% of them have never met before, if they can get along, because what we do when we do opera is not just a single person going out and sing. Doing opera is is such a team work, team job,
yeah.
that if there is if there is someone who is not on the same frequency, I mean mentally and physically and in terms of soul with the others, there is something that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the audience feel it.
And for a piece like this,
Yeah.
because it's all ensemble,
It's
there-
a
you know,
conversation opera. Constantly.
You have to have that kind of a cast, I
Absolutely.
would think.
Absolutely.
So it's going well.
Oh, it is really going well.
You're having
In
fun.
fact, absolutely. In fact, and it is really difficult. It has never happened to me before. We have already done the first scratch of the whole opera totally in the first week, and then in this week that is starting, we will just try to make the whole thing again in order to smooth all the small angles, to remind here and there small things. And the great thing about working together with the stage director and the conductor, they are always there, is that they keep adding things. And Olivier Tambosi is such an energetic person. He can ask you to do the same bit for 10 times and always add something more. And Maestro Calegari keeps all the small details that this opera is made of always fresh all the time. So this is the best thing of working all together.
I'm so delighted because this is one of my favorite Verdi operas. The favorite is Otello.
Oh,
I can't get beyond Otello.
Okay.
But Falstaff it's just brilliant, and it's funny. There's fascinating characters in it, and I think we're going to make the best case that could be made for Falstaff.
I
on
think
our
so,
stage.
and I hope the audience will just agree with us with all the things that we've just said. But I'm sure that once they get to the theater, they will not be disappointed on any level.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Well,
Thank you so much for
Thank
spending
you,
time with
thank
me.
you,
And
Thanks.
hope you come
Thanks
back.
a lot. Hope so.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hai fiaccata la mia giumenta paia, forzata la mia casa. Non la tua massaia. Troppo grazia. Una vecchia ci sposa.